Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wager Talk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wager Talk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as Lookahead on SportsMemo.com, at Lookahead Sports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt to break down the play-in games tomorrow, and we'll also take a look ahead at a couple series props as well. Before we get into those games, though, I do want to talk about what we got going on over at SportsMemo.com. It is Monday. So, as always, $9 Mondays, all picks and packages on the site are just $9. That's over at wagertalk.com as well. We also have a huge promo going on for both Sports Memo and Wager Talk, playoffs to preseason kickoff. It's a deal that equates to less than $5 per day. Obviously, baseball is back, and the NBA and the NHL playoffs are around the corner. We have a fantastic offer for you to get action from the first pitch to the kickoff of the upcoming NFL season. We have you covered basically for every client release, including 5% best bets, your favorite Wager Talk and Sports Memo handicapper from the day you sign up all the way up to the 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame game, which is I think it's August 3rd. August 3rd would be that day. So that's $4.50 per day, basically, coming out to about $32 per week. Talk or Sports Memo handicapper from now until then. The normal price for that would be about over $1,000, but for a limited time, pay only $4.99, coming out to just under $4.50 a day. As a bonus, your access does start as soon as you sign up. So the earlier you sign up, the more better your deal is. With that said, head over to sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com after the show. With that said, let's get Matt up here with us. What is up, Matt? Man, I know you've had a strong close to the NBA regular season. Let's hope we move that into the playoffs as well. I mean, I think that for me, the last couple of playoffs have been really good. Closing off the playoffs really strong the last two seasons with SportsMemo.com. This one's your first playoffs, right? With SportsMemo?
Yeah. Yep, correct.
Yeah, and you coming into it pretty hot like this, it has to feel pretty good. How's everything else going on? I know we touched briefly right before the show on our UFC this weekend that did not go well, but hopefully the playoffs go well for us, man. How's everything else going?
Yeah, honestly, in terms of the NBA, everything is going great. This is definitely a time of year where I'm going to make a note. And again, me and you have talked about, buying or becoming a subscriber for a certain amount of time in comparison to picking single game plays or a week long, whatever it may be, because I really took advantage of a lot of these lines the night before. Cappers like you or I, we've watched the NBA all season long. Like, guys, I am not kidding. Maybe I can count on one hand how many NBA days I have missed this season. So I know these teams like the back of my hand. I know when they're going to sit their guys. I know when they're going to play their guys. And if you grab the line the night before they bench all their players, you are getting crazy line value. I've hit my last 6 picks in a row because in some instances I was getting 5 points of closing line value. So I would wake up the next morning, I'd be like, shit, this is easy. You know what I mean? So definitely take a note of this one going forward for this time next year. The playoffs will be way different. You're not going to get a ton of closing line value and stuff like that. The lines are going to be sharp. The prop lines are going to be sharp. But we know this game. We know this playoff series, the teams facing off, and there are some absolutely beautiful matchups. I'm straight up drooling over the Kings versus Warriors. That is going to be awesome. I can't wait. Let's break it down, Ron.
Let's get into it. We got 2 games tomorrow. We got the Hawks and Heat first up. Hawks 41-41 on the season after the All-Star break, just 12-11 straight up, 10-13 against the spread. They are coming into this game on a 2-game losing streak, including a 136-131 loss to a shorthanded Sixers team, while the Hawks had a full squad. To me, it seems like they're not really in the best form here, but the Heat on the other side, 44-38 on the season, 12-11 straight up, and 9-14 against the spread post All-Star break. They are coming into this one winning 4 of the last 5 games. From an injury perspective, we don't have official injury report statuses, but it does seem like the Heat are pretty healthy here. The Hawks did have some guys miss the last game of the season, but it seems like they should all be available for this game here tomorrow. From a matchup perspective, the Heat do own a regular season series 3-1. The crazy thing about it, though, Matt, every single game so far that they faced each other, the Heat have had a different starting lineup, and I think they're going to have a different one again here for this play-in game. From a trend perspective, man, and or angles perspective, do you see anything here that could kind of point you towards either the Hawks or the Heat side?
In terms of trends and angles, not exactly, but from, I guess, a personal point of view and a personal opinion, I like the Miami Heat. And, we were talking about this a little bit before the show. A lot of it to me does come down to this Miami Heat defense, and a lot of it does come down to the play of Trae Young at this point in time. Trae Young has not been playing consistent basketball whatsoever. His shot has been essentially broken. And the thing is, if Trae Young is not making his jump shots, this Atlanta Hawks team doesn't have that many guys who can go out and make outside shots on top of that. DeJounte Murray, definitely not an outside jump shooter. John Collins, same thing. DeAndre Hunter, hot and cold as well, and he's also been battling injuries. So you really need Trae Young to come in and play well. And as for the Miami Heat, if you're going off of past situations, you take a look at Jimmy Butler. And, Jimmy Butler's prop line is way up there. And I'm sure that's because of his playoff history. And, you brought up a great point before this, Ron. Since the All-Star break, Jimmy Butler is shooting 60% from the field. So you got Jimmy Butler, who is the best player on the Heat, playing great basketball. The best player on the Hawks is playing like shit in Trae Young. So for me, I want to go with the hottest player possible. And on top of that, you have the Heat, who are going to be at home. You have the Heat, who play far better defense. They last I looked, they were number 1 in the NBA in terms of points given up per game at home, and I believe around 106, somewhere in that vicinity. I can check that after. But again, I think this Heat team is just the more consistent team at this point in time. I know it's a 5-point spread, which in a game like this does seem like a little much, but I think I'd be backing the Heat in this situation.
Yeah, man, you touched on Jimmy Butler here. Like I said before the show, he's kind of peaking at the right time. If you look at his numbers post All-Star break, 25.6 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 5.9 assists, 1.5 steals, and that's less than 33 minutes per game. And like you said, he's hitting it. He's hitting from the field 61.6% post All-Star break. If you compare that to before the All-Star break, he was only scoring about 21 points per game around there. And also, I mean, he's still shooting great from the field. It was like 50%, but like I said, he's just peaking at the right time. It's that experience going into the playoffs. What you want to do is peak at the right time, and that's exactly what he's doing. I don't really see anyone stopping Jimmy Butler, on the Hawks side here from a defensive standpoint. But the other thing, though, to mention is both of these teams really have been struggling defensively post All-Star break. I think both teams in the bottom 10 of the league defensive rating post All-Star break, and that's surprising to me for the especially knowing the Heat history and all that stuff. But the Hawks offensive rating at this point is about 6 or 7 points higher than the Heat post All-Star break. They also rebound the ball at a better rate than the Heat as well. The Heat are not taking care of the ball, 23rd in the league in turnover percentage post All-Star break. So some of the things are actually pointing towards the Hawks side. I just can't, like you said, I can't trust. If we're looking at the best player from each team, I can't trust anyone on the Hawks, but I do trust Jimmy Butler to do his part. So for the most part, I was thinking this was really the line is probably where it should be. I think it's going to be a 1 to 2 possession game, and that means that the Hawks may keep this one within the spread, but the Heat win the game. That's how I would see it, but I'm not going to put my money on that. One thing that I would look at, though, Matt, and I want to get your perspective on this, was it's actually Clint Capella. He's not a big household name, right? I mean, obviously, he's a little bit older now, but his points prop is 9.5 points. He's been with the Hawks for what, three seasons now. He's gone over this number in 6 of the 7 games he's played against the Heat as a Hawk. And if you look at this season alone, in his last 55 games played this season, he's gone over 9.5 points in 44 of those games. That's an 80% hit rate. So it's kind of surprising to me to see this number that low, right? If he's hitting it at such a high rate. Do you think that Miami has a game plan to get him off the court because he might be the only defensive presence in the paint, with Bam and all that stuff? But other than that, that's the only thing I can think of why they would lay a 9.5.
Yeah, I don't know. Like with when you look at someone like Clint Capella, one thing that I've been turning to as well is if you're looking to take his point prop, I'll also take a double double. Because you can get a little better value with
Hmm.
that. Like even yesterday, I
Yeah,
took Alperin Sengun double double, and that worked out very well. And to your point, Ryan, Capella has had a double double against the Miami Heat in 1, 2, 3, 4 in 6 out of his 8 games, 6 out of his last 8 games. So it is looking very good. He does have a size advantage over Bam Adebayo. So to your point, I wouldn't be surprised if they did try and get him out of there, try and attack him a little more. But again, Onyeka Okongwu is not a bad backup on top of that, and he actually matches up with Bam Adebayo pretty well from an athleticism standpoint, I would say. I do like that look,
yeah.
though, from Clint Capella. They have to run that high pick and roll. You try and if Jimmy Butler is guarding Trae Young or someone like that, you have to try and get that switch off of him, and that's where I think Clint Capella comes into play. So that's definitely something I would look at. Me and you did talk about this beforehand with Jimmy Butler. I love Jimmy Butler as well, but with his point prop being 27.5 and his PRA being 40.5, that's a pretty accurate line for me. So that might be tough, but instead,
Yeah.
maybe I'll do like a Jimmy Butler, 25 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. I would not be surprised if that's close to even money or something along those lines. So I might look there in terms of like an alternative line, SGP, something like that. Because I'm kind of with you, Ron. I like the Heat. Do I like them enough to put money on them or make it a 3%, 4% play? I really doubt that. But since it's a play-in
Hmm.
game, you want to get some action on it and run a little something. So I'll definitely be looking at Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's move on to the next game here, which is the Wolves and the Lakers. Lakers laying 6.5 here. 229.5 is the total. The Wolves 42-40 on the season. Post All-Star break, 11-10 straight up and against the spread. They are coming into this one pretty good form right now, winning and covering their last 3 games. But we did see what happened the other day here. Gobert and Kyle Anderson getting into an altercation. The Wolves ended up coming back to win that game anyways. But that's going to be a key factor in how this game is played as far as their chemistry as a team here and their morale. Lakers, on the other hand, 43-39 on the season. They close out the season really strong here, 16-7 straight up, 13-10 against the spread post All-Star break. They won 9 of their last 11 games as well. And also went over their team total in 7 straight games to close out the season. So they're really clicking offensively for the most part. From an injury perspective, obviously the some of the guys on the Lakers squad have been questionable or probable all season long, but we expect all the key players to be available for them. On the Wolves side, they will be missing some key role players here. Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels, I feel like underrated key players for this Wolves team, especially McDaniels being one of the better, probably the best perimeter defender on that squad. We don't know the status of Jalen Noel or Rudy Gobert either. Rudy Gobert, like we said, that the altercation, he threw a punch. There's a possible opportunity that people have been saying that there could be a 1-game suspension. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll need to see what happens with Rudy there. From a matchup perspective, the Wolves do own the regular season matchup 2-1, but the Lakers did win the most recent matchup, which was a couple of weeks ago, 123-111. Matt, what are your thoughts on this game here? What are your thoughts on the Wolves and what happened yesterday, basically, in that game?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Ron. With Jaden McDaniels going down, that's a big loss for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's their number 1 on-ball defender, wing defender. So he's very key. He's a guy who's somewhat of a spark plug as well. Once every maybe 5 games, he's going to go off, get 15 points, hit a couple threes, stuff like that. And, in a play-in game, that could be incredibly beneficial. And then you also look at someone like Rudy Gobert. I'm with you. I don't know what's going to happen there. He could see a 1-game suspension. I personally would maybe expect him to play just because of how crucial the game is. And there's definitely a domino effect if Rudy Gobert does not play. If Rudy Gobert doesn't play, then you're putting Karl Anthony Towns on Anthony Davis. You run a huge risk of Karl Anthony Towns getting in foul trouble because, let's be honest, Cat is not the best defender in the world. He mostly focuses on the offensive end. And if you're going against someone like Anthony Davis, I would assume this is going to be one of those games where Anthony Anthony Davis comes out. He's very aggressive. He gets it going. I've said many times on the show how AD can just go out and take a nap. I don't think this is one of those situations. I think he has to be very assertive here. I still believe that this Lakers team goes where Anthony Davis takes them. And my personal opinion, though, I would be with the Lakers here with the -7. I think this Lakers team is a very good basketball team. I'm going to be honest. I think they do a lot of things very well. They have two superstars in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They have some really great, I wouldn't even like to call D'Angelo Russell a role player because he's a very, very good role player, very good facilitator. Take a look at Austin Reeves, man. Austin Reeves is absolutely balling, doing things well on the offensive end, on the defensive end. They have a deep bench on top of that, with guys like Rui Hachimura coming off the bench, Dennis Schroeder, Lonnie Walker. This is a good basketball team. It really is. I hate to say that, but they are a good basketball team. And personally, I think they get it done against the Minnesota Timberwolves here.
I agree with you, but we talked about the line here in the play-ins and the high number. I would think that this number is, I would say, kind of spot on. Just like how you said that the Hawks in Heat line is spot on, pretty high for what they are playing for. I wanted to look towards the Lakers team total over. That's the way that I was kind of looking towards it, because you mentioned Jaden McDaniels, right? And basically he's the best on-ball defender over on that side. He's only missed 3 games this season, and in 2 of those games they gave up 137 to the Warriors. They gave up 142 to the Wizards. That's a lot of points, and that's in regulation, not even OT. So I think defensively that's going to be a a huge loss there. And then Gobert, also the morale, like we talked about the morale for this Wolves team. I think that's going to affect their chemistry. Obviously, I think that's my thing. But the number being kind of close to where I feel like it's supposed to be at, that's going to take me off of the line. So that's why I was looking towards the Lakers team total over. I also said that they've gone over in 7 straight team total overs to close the season. So that's the way that I would think. And the other piece too, from a defensive standpoint, or some of the numbers I feel like are kind of misleading for the Lakers to close the season, because they were double-digit favorites in 4 of their last 5 games. So I'm not 100% sure that they are the defensive stoppers that they look to be towards the end of the season. But offensively, I feel like they'll be there. Like I said, Jaden McDaniels, man, underrated defender, on-ball defender. And I think that's going to be a big piece to why the Lakers go over their team total. And that also relieves some stress about whether or not they cover the line. So that's the way that I would go in that one. Did you see anything from a prop perspective?
In all honesty, as you were saying that, I love that look, Ron. I think the team total for the Lakers side is probably the way to go here, because to your point, taking that a little further, Rudy Gobert might play, he might not play. I'm telling you right now, if Rudy Gobert does not play, the Lakers will go over that team total. There is going to be no interior defense whatsoever. They don't even really have a backup center, at least to my knowledge. Luke Garza, or is there a guy Nathan Knight or something along those lines? So 2 guys, we really don't even know what they're going to be able to do. And I'll tell you what, it's already hard enough to stop someone like Anthony Davis at the rim, someone like LeBron James at the rim. So if Rudy Gobert does not play, that middle is going to be wide open. Then in addition to that, to your point, Ron, Rudy Gobert is a head case. You can tell when Rudy Gobert is out there and he's very frustrated. He wants to he thinks they should be passing him the ball more. If he gets a couple ticky-tack fouls, he gets in his head very quickly and he has to go to the bench. So, it's a very odd situation for the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. Again, Jaden McDaniels punching the wall in the hallway, whatever it was, and then Rudy Gobert getting kicked out the same game. What is that locker room right now? It is going to be tough to come together, travel to LA, go out, play very good defense. Then if Rudy doesn't play, it's going to be that much harder. And, you're going to have guys like Kyle Anderson trying to lock down the middle, Taurean Prince trying to lock down the middle, and then Karl Anthony Towns. That is a tall task. So for me, I think that's a great look, Ron. That's exactly where I would be looking in terms of the team total over. And honestly, I'd be Anthony Davis. You guys know how I am with him, but I think it's a great spot. I think he has to be very aggressive here. So I would definitely be taking a look at Anthony Davis, points plus rebounds, if not just rebounds. He's been an absolute animal around the boards here, and I expect him to have another 12 rebound, 13 rebound outing.
I love it. All right. One prop that I was gonna look at too was Reeves assist. That would be the one prop that I would look at
Mm-hmm.
outside of Anthony Davis. All right, let's go to we have a couple games on Wednesday that we'll talk about. The playing games on Wednesday that we'll talk about on the Wednesday show. So let's talk about a couple series props for this. At least what we have available already. What's one
Mm-hmm.
series prop that you're looking at, Matt? That we have available right now?
Yeah, guys. So right now, I'll be honest too. Today is $9 Monday. I already have two plays loaded for the NBA playoffs. One play-in game, one playoff game. So again, two plays. One is a 4% play as well. I'm 12-2 in 2023 with 4% money line plays, up 37 units, putting that record on the line. And it's actually going to be from the same series that I'm going to talk about here. And I actually like the Warriors and the Sacramento Kings to go 7 games. I really like the makeup of this series. I believe it was plus 220 to go 7 games. And, a lot of people are really favoring the Golden State Warriors right now. And to an extent, I can understand that. The Golden State Warriors won the season series 3-1. The Golden State Warriors are also potentially getting Andrew Wiggins. They're supposed to get Andrew Wiggins back. But Ron and I have talked about this many times on the show. When you add a star back into a lineup, it changes things. It does make things more difficult. And that's why I do look at the Sacramento Kings early on, because they're going to have to get that chemistry. They're going to have to get Andrew Wiggins flowing back into that lineup. It's not that easy to just come in after months off and just start balling and just start playing great on-ball defense, start attacking the boards, stuff like that. So for me, I like the look of this Sacramento Kings team. You guys have heard me all season long. If there's two teams you do not doubt, Sacramento Kings, Oklahoma City Thunder. Those are my two squads that I bet on all season long, and I'm not going to change it now. The Golden State Warriors are still 10-30 on the road this season, so we're just expecting the playoff start, and this is a brand new team. I don't see it, so I still think the Kings are going to be able to do this. I think they're going to be able to keep this series very close. Again, I'm not positive on who is going to win this series at this point in time. I actually do lean the Kings, so I do lean the underdog in this spot. But regardless, I think this is going to be a fun series. It's going to be a great series to bet on. And I also think it goes 7 games. These two teams are very similar in their makeup, in their dynamic. They like to push the pace, get up and down the court, shoot a lot of threes. And at this point in time, I actually give what I look at here is the bench. And I actually give the edge to the Sacramento Kings in terms of the bench and the ability to go out and score points. So once again, I think we have a very exciting series on our hands. This is going to be a great series in terms of same game parlays, stuff like that as well. Again, just so pumped up for this playoffs, but I really like the look of this series going 7 games at plus 220.
Yeah, man, the Kings have been solid all season long. I think they really got. I feel like even though they have the better record, they always play with a chip on their shoulder. Like nobody
Mm-hmm.
really believed in them, to start the season, and they are where they are because of that. I think, and then that's going to go into the playoffs. The one thing on the Warriors side that they have is really just the experience, right? It's the experience that they've had in the playoffs for many years here, and they got their key core there. So the Kings, they definitely got a lot to prove here, and I think, but like I said, that's one thing that's really pushed them to play the way that they have been playing. So I like
Mm-hmm.
that series. I definitely think that's going to go 7 games. Like I said, like you said though, not sure who's going to win the series, but I think it's a really great matchup. They match up pretty well. The series
Yeah.
that I am looking at is the total opposite. I feel like one team has a significant advantage over the other. Sixers and the Nets here. I'm looking at the under 5.5 series games. It is juiced here, minus 160, but I think it is warranted. The Sixers swept the regular season series 4-0. Embiid is pretty much on a mission here. The Nets won't have an answer for him. If we look at the Sixers offensively, they have an advantage there. On the board, they have an advantage there. If you look at it from a metric standpoint, Nets are 24th in the league in offensive rating post All-Star break and also 27th in rebounding rate. The Sixers third in offensive rating, first in true shooting percentage, seventh in rebounding rate. So those key advantages there on the Sixers side are pretty significant. This should be an easy series here for the Sixers. I feel like historically too, if you look at it from the Sixers standpoint, since 2017, they've been the higher seed in the first round 4 times. They went over the 5.5 game mark in that first round only once, and that was last season. They ended up winning the series 4-2. So they went over. They went obviously the 6-game mark. But to me, in this series here, I wouldn't be surprised if the Sixers even sweep the series, and that would be a plus 240. So if you want to sprinkle on that, that might be something to do there. But like I said, I think the Sixers just have a significant advantage at so many different areas here against the Nets. I feel like the Nets kind of got lucky with how they ended the second half of the first part of the season with that big winning streak, and then they kind of just during the trade deadline gave everything up, and I don't know. Like I said, I think they were lucky to make the playoffs here because of how they ended that first half of the season. With that said, guys, we have a couple play-ins on Wednesday. We'll talk about a few more series props as well, probably on that day. But the NBA playoffs is here. All the games that matter. We can tell where the psyche is for these players and these teams. So it's a little bit easier from a standpoint of knowing who's going to come in and play hard, right? Everybody is, because it's a playoffs. The last few games of the season, it was really tough, right? We didn't know who was playing until 30 minutes before the game. Like I say, if you like Matt has taken advantage, towards the end of the season, if you were able to see things like that and take advantage of it, dude, that's why he killed it. But in the playoffs, now it's time to show like your real knowledge of the NBA and the players and stuff like that. And that's where me and Matt really thrive in. So we'll see how the playoffs go. I mean, yeah, and I'm excited with you. But yeah, with the last thing to talk about here is make sure you guys head over to SportsMemo and WagerTalk.com. We do have that promo of the playoffs to the kickoff, basically. So the NBA playoffs, the NHL, everything from now until the first game of the NFL preseason, I believe, and that would be sometime early August. Everything is equates to less than $5 a day, guys, and that deal is over at SportsMemo and WagerTalk.com. It includes all NBA, NHL, pretty much every sport there, all access basically until then. So with that said, guys, our next show is on Wednesday. I think Jeff Michaels will be with us on that day, Moneyline Matt and myself, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the same channel. Till then, good luck with all your action. Peace.
Peace.
Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wager Talk, Sports Memo, and The Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wager Talk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.